Let's look at if statements. This is basic flow control conditional code execution. An if statement is used for conditional code execution. Put simply, if statements are used to run blocks of code if a certain condition is met. This condition determines if a code block will run is called the test condition. If the test condition is true, the block of code, which is everything between the curly brackets after the if statement, will run. If the test condition isn't true, the code block won't run and your program will move on to the next line of code. If statements are used in the following manner. We have int a equal to 2, and we're going to test a. If a is equal to 2, then we print hello. If is a Java keyword and is used when writing an if statement. The red part of the code is the test condition. A test condition is a Boolean expression. It must be some type of comparison that can be either true or false. What we see in red on this slide is the code block. If the test condition of an if statement evaluates to true, the if statement's code block will run, top to bottom. There can be any number of statements in a code block. Recall that the single equal sign is the assignment operator. This operator is how we assign a value to a variable. The equal equal, seen in the previous slides, is the comparison operator. This operator compares two values to see if they are the same. It works on any primitive types, ints, doubles, booleans, etc. The assignment operator, the single equals, should never be used in an if statement's test condition. In the earlier examples, we used a test condition of a equal 2, or a is equal to 2. We can also test in other ways. Not equal to, greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. The test condition must be something that evaluates to true or false. These operators are known as relational operators. Remember, if statements are evaluated in order from top to bottom. Your program will look at each if statement, evaluate whether its test condition is true, and run accordingly. In this code example, a is set equal to 2, and then there's a test. If a is greater than 1, we print 1. Since that is true, 1 will be printed. The next if statement tests if a is equal to 2. That's true, so it will print the word 2. So for this bit of code, we have the output 1, 2. An if-else statement adds functionality to the basic if statement. First, the test condition of the if statement is evaluated. If it is true, the code block below the if statement will run. If it's not true, the code block below the else statement will run. Think of the else statement as an otherwise. If the test condition of the if statement is true, then the if statement's code block will run. Otherwise, the else statement's code block will run. If-else statements are used in the following manner. Again, we have a set equal to 2, and we test to see if a is equal to 5. It's not, so we won't print hello. Instead, we will execute the else. Therefore, the output of this program is goodbye. An if-else if statement checks multiple linked if statements in order and will run the code block of the first if else if statement with a true test condition. Important, once Java finds an if or else if statement with a test condition that is true, it will skip past the remainder. If else if statements are linked together, unlike multiple regular if statements. If else if statements link multiple if statements. They are used in the following manner. Int a is set equal to 2. We test if a is equal to 5. It's not, so now we have to execute the else block. Inside of the else block is another if statement. This is our else if. And we test if a is greater than 1. It is, so we print in the middle. Since the first condition, a greater than 1, is true, we skip the second else. Therefore, the output of this program is in the middle. Remember, else if statements are linked. Your program will look at each if-else if statement in order and run whichever has a true test condition. If none are true, the else block will run. Here we have a set equal to 3, and we test if a is greater than 2. It is. So we print the 1. Since the first if condition is true, we don't evaluate the else. Indentation of code. All code, especially if statements and loops, should be indented properly for clarity. Lack of proper indentation will cause you to lose points and make your code much less readable. This is really bad indentation. It's a jumbled mess. Good indentation looks like this. It has clear flow with curly brackets that line up. Note how easily we can determine which statements are inside which. Code that is inside an if statement's code block should be between the curly brackets and tabbed over to show that it's inside. You can compare the difference between good code and bad code. Technically, the Java convention on curly brackets says that they should be at the end of the if statement like this. However, it's much easier to spot curly bracket issues if they're lined up vertically. I would highly recommend that you line up your curly brackets vertically when you start, since it's so easy to match them that way.